in the church world, we talk a great deal about listening, and ministers put a pretty high premium on listening. Many think they do it very, very well. And, that the answer might be somewhere in between on doing it perfectly and not doing it very well. Can you speak to what genuine listening actually looks like from your perspective?
Well, I think genuine listening involves really kind of being there with someone, paying attention, closing out, not looking at your phone or your watch all the time, but trying to give someone your undivided attention, especially if they come to you to discuss something that's difficult or painful to them. They might oftentimes kind of check you out to see how much you can handle, to see if you're really paying attention or if you really have the emotional bandwidth to go there with them, with whatever they're struggling with. But listening can look different in different places. I know some pastors meet parishioners at coffee shops. Sometimes listening can occur when you're doing something else. I think I mentioned earlier that, if you're painting a fellowship hall side by side with a member of the congregation, you are not staring at each other, but side by side, that person might begin to open up and tell you a little bit about their story.
Which is especially, and now I'm interrupting you as we're talking about listening,
That's
but
okay.
which is especially true with youth, I think. There can be some intimidation factors around that, but doing something alongside.
Right, so that's why all of the activities, which maybe to outsiders it looks like, oh, they're just socializing. They're not really, doing Bible study. They're just playing. But first of all, it's not just play, but whatever they're doing is spending time together that creates the opportunity for some stories to be told. It may not happen in just, a 1 hour meeting or something, but if you're spending time together, and I'm sure as a minister that at times when you think it's downtime or you're in between things, you're walking down the hallway with someone, all of a sudden out comes a little hint or a kernel that something important's going on in that person's life, or you just notice that someone looks a little bit different. They look a little bit down, or their appearance, they look tired. And I think, we don't want to say, oh, you look tired, right? Because then they might feel bad about that. But it might be just a clue that to pay attention, to try to create a little space where they could, share something if they wanted to.
Sure.
I remember once when I was in the role of a church member, and I had a task I was doing for a committee or something, and my pastor called to ask how that project was coming along or something. And so I told her, and then she said, "Mary, is everything okay? You sound a little different." And as it happened, someone in my family had just had a biopsy and was waiting for the results. So given the invitation, I was able to share that with her. And I was so touched and honored that she even noticed the change in my voice. This wasn't even in person. This was over the phone.
That's a good listener.
To pause and ask. So, there's lots of ways to be a good listener.